Hello, welcome back. So today we're gonna be going over how to build a war squad. So before going into it, just want to say there's multiple ways to build a war squad. There's no one right answer. Um, so specifically, I'm gonna be going over how to build a walk squad. Like I said, there's many different options, different strategies. This, if you've watched my war videos, um, I've only used this squad. It works on every base pretty much. Some better than others, but it does work on every base. It's the most consistent. Um, in the current meta, most quote unquote meta squads look similar. Um, Mine looks pretty similar to them, which is kind of funny because I didn't follow any guide. I just kind of made my own. Um, so yeah, I'll go into the cores and combats later, but just I'll start with the bots, I guess. So a pretty good base plate to follow is you want two warriors, two special, three high damage bots, so either air class or gunners, and then one medic. And then doesn't matter which slots, but you need at least one bot to pop outposts, and you need somebody to deal with build lots. So I'll start with pipes. He's probably the most flexible. Um, so for 3+1, that's really his big advantage. Any rushing warrior will do. Anybody with these 80% health and absorption shields will do the trick. So most of these bots are very similar. They're all 3+2. So Track's big advantage, or not Track, Pipe's big advantage is simply that he's 3+1, and Acid is pretty nice, but it's just that simple. He's the cheapest. There's no drawback, so he has similar, if not slightly better, stats than everybody else. They're all very similar. Only difference is he's cheaper. So if you don't have pipes and you have someone else, that can 100% work too. And then next we have Rook. So I mentioned you need somebody to pop an outpost. Rook is like by far the most popular. If you don't have him, RC can work too. However, he kind of dominates just because her only advantage is that her ability is slightly cheaper, but Rook has more health. Um, his decoy has more health. It explodes. It has more. He has an absorption shield. Um, just his pros greatly outweigh the one pro the RC has. Um, Dinobot can work. I wouldn't recommend him because Rook or RC stand still and simply place a decoy, while Dinobot follows in with his decoys, and he often gets himself killed, which is obviously not what you want. So there's a few different options. I mentioned two warriors. You want one of them to be rushing warrior for sure, and then if you don't want to use Rook, you have another outpost popper in mind. Um, I wouldn't recommend Sludge, but someone with an alternate purpose where it's like, so Sludge can break walls. Um, Drift has stealth. Lightspeed is a good he's a good outpost popper too. Um, so yeah, just there's not too many options to be honest. That's why Rookie's so popular. All right. So next we'll move on to Blaster. Blaster is also kind of my free space. If you have somebody that you love and you want to get in here, Blaster it's a free square. I've been using him for so long, and I do plan to replace him soon. But I've just been I think he's my third 5-star bot, so I've been using him since like I don't even know how long, like over 5 years now. Um, I know he's not the best, but I make him work. I know how to use him. I'm very familiar with him. So if you have a bot like I'm describing, and even if he's not the best, but you love him, you know how to use them, feel free to plug him in here. He's by far the most flexible. It's completely a free square. I like Blaster because I like his minions. They can both pop outposts if Rook gets distracted or separated, or even if he dies. Um, Blaster can also pop outposts, which is important. And then also, he when you use his minions, it's like getting two bots on the field. Um, so it's like having 10 for a moment, and you can use them to distract defenses, take out defenses. Yeah, very multi-purpose, I guess. And then next we have Leo. So he just does so much damage in a large area. Um, a lot of squads get him in here, and the strategy to simply take out the Firebill bots and then use Leo. If you watch my replays closely, I don't actually use him that much. I've been thinking of getting an alternate in here, but so his main purpose is someone who does a lot of damage, um, and just pretty obvious, Leo's the most powerful bot in the game. If you're thinking of the most powerful bot and you come up with an answer other than Leo, you're simply wrong. It's not a discussion. That's how strong he is. He's getting nerfed soon, but yeah, he has so many purposes. He can take out the shield gen. He can take out like a cluster of buildings. He's just very all around useful. If you don't have him, Optimal Optimus is another good option. He's very similar, but he's just slightly more expensive, a little bit less damage, um, but also still an A tier option. And then those two are kind of on a tier on their own. I don't think there's anyone else quite with them. Another option, for a long time I used Laser Optimus. He does a lot of damage, helps with pathing. Sentius is similar. Impactor works, I guess, but he's very slow. He often gets left behind, which isn't what you want. And not the exact same, but Braun is. If you have another stun bot to activate him, he's very underrated. I love him so much. He could technically work, I guess. Alright, and then next we have Minerva. So there's not too many healers to choose from, to be honest. And Minerva is simply the best. So I'll go into this later, but a lot of players use two medics as well. I only run one. So if you're only gonna run one, Minerva is just simply the best option. It's her healing tower is a little expensive, but it's so worth it. I used first aid for a long time. I'm not even sure how to describe what changed, but basically, I used a lot of shielding, but with tracks and others. Now that CL or Rung are options, you don't really need that as much from first aid. So just pure healing is nice. Ratchet is probably number 2 at this point. Just simply for the cost. I think you need to use his ability like 3 times to match one of her buildings. So I guess you get the shield as well from his ability 11, but like, I don't know. Similar to Rook versus RC, while Ratchet does have a pro over Minerva with the reduced cost, it's just everything else from Minerva simply overshadows it. Wheeljack is probably the best number 2 healer spot. So if you're running 2 healers, look at Wheeljack. If you're running 2 healers, the biggest con is that, or your biggest worry is timing out. So his speed boost ability helps with that a lot. And then I don't have his 5-star, but Rekgar, he can work as the second healer, I guess. His ability is very expensive, and I don't know. It's hard to justify a slot for that, to be honest. If you're running one healer, definitely not him. But yeah, if you don't have Minerva, so First Aid or Ratchet can work, but to be honest, Minerva is just by far the best. And lastly, we have our squishies. This is what I call our high damage bots with low health. Um, so this is most likely where you'd get a sniper or something to take out build bots. I use Smokescreen here, as you can see. He can two-shot build bots, so 6 points. If you don't, I'm just going to reverse order here. So if you don't have Smokescreen, Jets can work too. I used Jetfire for quite a while before switching. His first use is actually a little bit cheaper, for only 4 points, and then the second use is the same, 6. And then so unless you're taking out 3 build bots with just Jetfire, actually third one's on par too because you save 2 points from the first one. So if only when you get to the fourth ability use you start using more points, and it's only 2 more. So Smokescreen just has other purposes. He can be used in other ways. But if you just need a way to deal with build bots and you don't have Smokescreen, Jets can work too. I use Jetfire as an example. If you have Firefly or Slingshot, isn't great for build bots just because he's immune to fire build bots, which are the most common ones. Silverbolt is so you're not immune. They get countered, so Slingshot can't hurt Fire Dome build bots, and Slingshot can't hurt Lightning Rod build bots. So Jetfire and Firefly are probably your 2 best options if you don't have Smokescreen. Smokescreen is probably just the number 1 option at this point. And then Blue Streak can work too. He has the range to do it. He's a little expensive. But if you need something to use his first 2 abilities on to get to that third ability value, then I guess build bots can work. And then lastly, we have Trax and Air Raid. So I only run 1 healer, so I need to run another support bot like Trax who provides shielding. So he doesn't heal, but he reduces damage taken, which reduces how much healing I need. So if I want to run a second healer, Trax would probably be the man out. I've seen some people run 2 healers and Trax. That is the thing you can do. But also the value of having Trax over another medic is he does so much damage. And his smoke lasts for so long, and his first ability used for 2 points isn't like probably the best value in the game, like from any ability. And then 7 is okay. It's not bad at all. And I mean, I guess you can use Red Alert if you wanted to. But for more points, he reduces less. He only does 50% as opposed to Trax 60%. And it's for a shorter time, and you need to rush somewhere while Trax can stand still. So while Red Alert is an option, just as I've mentioned from when I've gone over, Trax is just the better choice for that in like 9 out of 10 scenarios. And to be honest, I can't think of the one, but I'm sure there's one out there. Yeah, he's a very popular bot. There's a reason he's only 4-star that's commonly used, besides maybe Cup for a sack if you're into that. And lastly, we have Air Raid. So he's kind of a free square too. Him and Leo are my 2 main damage dealers. You want at least 2 of them because if one goes down, you don't want to be absolutely screwed. So the only problem with Air Raid is you need someone to take out his buildings. So Smokescreen is the perfect bot to work with him. And to be honest, without Smokescreen doing what he does, I'd probably get another bot in here. So Arid is very good. He takes if you watch my videos, you've seen he takes out a lot of buildings for pretty cheap. He has a lot of range too. If you don't have air raid, I also love Brainstorm so much. He's very similar. Um, he base so he's more expensive. He damages a larger area, but so his thing is that you need 2 explosions. So he's a combo bot, just like air raid. So like I said, he's more expensive. He does more damage, but he's not only is his ability more expensive, the combo bot ability you need to trigger those bombs are also more expensive, and also he has less range. Um, I'm not sure how many tiles, but I think he's like 5-ish tiles shorter than air raid, which is doesn't sound like a lot, but those 5 are valuable. Um, those are probably the top 2 combo bots. There are other options if you'd like. So Slingshot provides acid. So if you, I use Leo. He doesn't need a combo. If you're running Optimal Optimus, maybe that acid could be helpful. I'm trying to think of who I used before him. I think for a while I was running Laser Optimus and Leo together. So I think technically my air raid replacement was Laser Optimus, just a secondary damage source. Yeah, I don't know. He works perfectly with Smokescreen. So it's pretty easy choice to get him on here. So those are the bots I'm using. So now I'll go into their setups. So for pipes, really this is the best setup for rushing warriors. If you don't have Jays, the Forge of Solus Prime can work too. The reason I use the Forge's big pro is obviously that he revives the bot, but also it provides hack immunity, which for rushing warriors is very important. If you're gonna be rushing around, rushing near the shield gen cluster where Liege is often placed, you can't be getting hacked. That's so. But luckily, Liege also provides hacked immunity, so you don't need both for hack immunity. You don't get extra hack immunity, right? And so while the hammer is helpful, there are other options to get hack immunity. So if you get it from Liege, there's not really a better core option for these rushing bots. So you're going to get hack immunity from that. So if you don't need hack immunity from the combat, Jays is by far the best. Him, Sound Barrier, and Shield Drawn, they all reduce damage, which is nice. But for a rushing warrior, Jays constantly gives him extra health, so it's so nice keeping him alive by himself. Like, he can really stay alive for so long by himself. He won't do that much damage as he's a warrior, but this combo, he's very, very, very hard to kill. And then quickly touching on the prime cores. So it doesn't really matter who, but the ones you really want to get into your war squad are Nexus, in no particular order. Are Nexus, Liege, Prima, Quintus, Micronus, and Alpha Trion. These are the big 6. You should really try your best to get them into your war squad, even if it doesn't make sense at the time. Like, if you like a G1 core, like, give it up for the prime core. I promise you it's worth it. And then you have, so those are only 6, so which means there's 2 other slots. So I think for me, I have 2 G1 cores, or sorry, Leo's G1 core, and then just a normal enhanced ordnance on air raid. So there's some flexibility. If you really want to use someone's G1 or something, you could just choose. Give So now you're down to 7 other options for 6 cores. Um, so yeah, for pipes, Liege by far the best. Onyx can work too, I guess. If you don't have Liege, it helps protect them. But yeah, I don't know. Liege is just by far the best. And next we have Rook. Oops, sorry. So if we look at Rook, I use Quintus on him. I like to have Quintus up in the front with high health bots because Quint. So Rook has a lot of health, which means while the sharks only survive for 7 seconds, they are beefy sharks. They tank a lot of damage for your squad. I like Rook is often up front as he's a warrior, or at least at worst in the middle, just not in the back. So I like that they spawn up front most of the time. They take up a lot of damage. And Quintus can really be used on anybody. It should be one of the last prime cores you assign, as it can, there's not really a bad option for Quintus. He makes everyone around him better. And then for sound barrier, I use him. I like the 41% shield. It's so that combined with rung. So like, I forget the math. I think it's like 75% of the time they have a guaranteed 40% shield, which is so nice. So even if I can't get tracks down right away, they're good. They just always a little bit of protection, which is nice. So if you don't want to run sound barrier, shield drawn is good too. More decoys are always a good thing. He also blocks some damage for him. The other popular options are Primus Star Saber. It's okay. It doesn't really boost the squad, just Rook, and it doesn't prevent damage taken. It just increases his damage, which for a warrior isn't really his purpose. So if you don't have sound barrier or you don't want to use them, the other two I can recommend are Bash Breaker and Buzz Strike. Bash Breaker just pushes out so much acid, which is helpful for the whole squad. More acid is always a good thing. Yeah, pretty. I don't know what to say. I prefer the protection part. It helps keep him alive, especially with the Quintus sharks surrounding him. But if you want damage, if you're timing out and you want more damage, Bash Breaker is good, and then so is Buzz Strike. So Rook isn't rushing around, but he is still a warrior and up front. So Hack Immunity is nice from Buzz Strike, and then same thing as Bash Breaker. Just he does more damage. He just a big blade that does a bunch of damage periodically. So yeah, I would really recommend Sound Barrier or Shield Drawn, but again, if you don't want to use them, I used Primus Star Saber for quite a while. And then I just recently made the switch to Sound Barrier, and I love it so much. Alright, and next we have Blaster. So the two minion combats I run are SB Optimus and Big Daddy. So you can swap either on anybody, just as long as you get them in. Yeah, there's not really the reason why I run Optimus on Blaster over Leo. You can use them on either. It really doesn't matter. Just get them in your war squad. And then like Cronus, I like that Blaster is often in the middle, so he can reach the frontline bots of Pipes and Rook, and then he can also reach the backline bots of Trax, Air Raid, and Smokescreen. and he also heals his minions. So I mentioned that when you use his minions, it's like having 2 extra bots on the field, and then they also get healed. Like they're almost always in range of his Micronus. Um, and in general, Micronus also doesn't really matter. These are probably the 2 that can kind of go on anybody. Actually, 3, I guess. Alpha Trion. Um, but just based on his positioning, I like Micronus in the middle, which is where Blaster should be most of the time. If you don't want to run that combo, another popular setup for Blaster is um, Pteraxodon. I hope I'm pronouncing I don't know. This combat, he heals you based on the damage you do, and that healing, if you want to use Quintus on him instead, counts for the damage that the sharks are doing, as well as his minions. So it's a lot of sources of damage for it and a lot of extra healing. I've never really tried it. I tried it briefly. I didn't really love it. It's not like some people swear by it. I didn't find it to be a game changer or anything crazy. Yeah, those are probably the 2 common setups for Blaster. So next up we've got Leo. So as I mentioned, the minion doesn't really matter, just as long as you get somebody on someone. Blaster and Leo, you can 100% switch them if you wanted to. And then if you want another minion, Sidrak is okay, I guess, if you want more health. Trip Up is another good option. He boosts the whole squad. Czar does pretty good damage. So depending on what you want, yeah. Not a lot of people like Roadburner. I actually like him quite a bit, but I don't know if I'd put him on the war squad. If you're not running tracks and you want extra periodic shielding, SG Steeljaw could be an option. Yeah, I think having 2 minions on your squad are pretty good. These are probably the best options. Yeah, if you're struggling with outposts specifically, I found that Big Daddy is a huge help. I tried taking him off my sports squad for a bit, and it worked. I was successful, but I really noticed him being gone. Yeah, I swear by him. I love him so much. You can really feel his effect, which is more than you can say about some others. And then for his core, nothing crazy, just his G1. He doesn't greatly benefit from any of the prime cores, which is why I just went with G1 here. Like I said, you have 6 prime cores you want to try and get on your war squad. And you have 8 options, so 2 free squares for who you want to leave off. And yeah, I really like G1 core. The extra damage is just nice. Gives himself a shield. Yeah, pretty simple. not too much behind that. Oh, actually, so Leo does so much extra damage. I think most prime level buildings have 11 point something health. So if you can do 12k damage, you can basically one-shot like most buildings in Prime League. So Leo does 20,000. He does so much extra damage, he doesn't even need this G1 core. So if you want to get crazy, want to get a little unconventional, Megatronus works. If you're struggling with build bots and melee, it would really help because if you're not really losing anything from his G1, if you don't need that damage, you may as well add an extra flame effect around him, which is making sure, yeah, it's not like a crazy amount of damage, but it's something, right? And then also, so another reason why it doesn't really matter who, but a minion option on Leo is good is because his default attack is actually slightly ranged. It's not melee, so this keeps him a little bit further back, which helps him survive quite a bit. So next we have Minerva. Um, I love this setup so much. If you don't want to use CL or you don't have him, might be her. I'm sorry, I actually don't know. If you want to use them, Rung is a pretty good option. Instead of reflecting damage, he simply shields it. So when running 2 healers, I would strongly suggest using one of each. They're both great, but if you're just using one, I think CL kind of edges out Rung. And then Kunai is okay. Boost for the healing. If you're using one medic and you're struggling with timeouts, which I don't know why you would if you're only using one, but if you're still struggling with timeouts, Kunai provides speed for you. Trip Up is also okay. He provides a speed bonus for your entire squad. I think I used him with First Aid for quite a while. Yeah, that's why this 4-star is so high. But yeah, these are the top 2. If you're missing out, like I would probably still use a 4-star CL or Rung over these other options. Yeah. So yeah, if you don't have CL, Rung is great too. And then some people use my Cronus here on Minerva. Alpha Trion is so important to get into your war squad. The extra points are so nice, and if you somehow don't notice it, I don't know. I've never even tried to take it off. That's how impactful it is. But yeah. So I use Alpha Trion here because she very often stays in the back and stays alive. The only way she'd run up and die is if I make a mistake, which I try not to do. So again, you could use my Cronus here as it's just an extra healing source. Another reason I like the Blaster, I personally like to split them up, is it gives 2 healing sources. So if Minerva does go down, you still have the Macronus. So it's not nearly as good as a healer, but it is something. And then, yeah, you could. I highly wouldn't recommend it. I can almost guarantee you there's a better option, but Quintus could work. Could help her constantly have a little bit of a shield around her from the sharks. Yeah, the main 2 options for Minerva or whichever healer you're running, Micronus or Alpha Trion. So moving on, almost done. So we've got Trax. I love this combo between Prima and Nightstick so much. So if you don't know what Nightstick does, it's acid, which is always nice, and it also has lifesteal, so it heals the bot for 130% of the damage dealt. So that's over 100% of your damage. So if you look at the damage, he's doing 1,228 damage pretty much. He's healing himself per second, even more than that. So he's always healthy. It keeps him alive. Nightstick is a must have on your war squad, no matter how you get him in. Obviously the best options would be the squishies in the back, so Trax, Air Raid, Smokescreen. I just like Trax, helps him keep him alive. He does a lot of damage. And then Prima is a fantastic combo with Nightstick if you can make it work. So I'll go into the synergy between all of the combats in a second, but Prima is best on a bot, so either Nightstick, Topstick, top shot or the Cosmic Rux Blaster, because they don't hit one target, they hit an area. So when which makes Prima also affect a whole area instead of one. Um, so yeah, I'll quickly move on so I can kind of go into their synergy. So Air Raid, Cosmic Rust Blaster. Actually, real quick, the core. There's not much to say here. It's just boosted ability damage. As I've said many times, you have 8 options to get 6 prime cores in. So 2 free spots where you don't need to so the extra ability damage is very nice. So back to the combat and synergy. So you could use Prima with Cosmic Rust as well. It also affects an area, and targets receive 40% more damage from elements like acid, which, as I mentioned, with Nightstick. So anything that Nightstick is hitting, if Cosmic Rust Blaster is also hitting it, it boosts the damage by 40%, which is huge. It's not just acid, fire, and electricity work too, and also slows down bots. So this is especially helpful for outpost bots. When they get clustered together, you can slow them all down while also boosting the damage from other bots. It's a must-have in your war squad. And I'll go into smoke screen too, but actually I'll just jump over now. So I think that all 3 of Nightstick, Top Shot, and the Rust Blaster are all must-haves. They're so helpful. So I'll go over Top Shot real quick. He's setting an area on fire. So if you notice a theme here, Nightstick lights an area with acid. Top Shot hits an area with fire. And if you didn't know, acid boosts fire damage by 20%. And then the Rust Blaster is also hitting an area and boosting that whole area damage by 40%. And if you go back to Nightstick with Prima with Trax, all of that damage is also all of that damage is also being increased by 25%. So those 3 combats and Prima absolutely shred through everything. If you can keep them grouped and keep them hitting the same targets or the same area, they will shred through everything. It's so helpful. If you're struggling with Beachcomber, with how much health he has and his regeneration, the acid from Nightstick and the slowdown from the Cosmic Rust help so much. And then, so last core we have is the Nexus core. So again, you can kind of put this on anybody. Just someone who stays alive, which is often Smokescreen. I almost always lead with him, if not him solo, like with that small group I often lead with. I can't think of a single scenario where the combiner is down before him, so that's why he's nice. He doesn't need a VM or anything. Like, he can 3-shot buildings without it, and the VM doesn't allow him to 2-shot them anyways, so he doesn't need that. His G1 is okay if you want to use it. I obviously prefer Nexus. Combiners are already pretty weak. They get shredded pretty quick. So that extra health from Nexus really helps. And damage, I guess. But yeah, if you have it on someone else, you can use a G1 if you'd like. It's pretty solid, but yeah. So we've combats. So between your 3 squishies, so Trax, Air Raid, and Smokescreen that I'm using, sorry. There's not really, but I used Glitch for a long time. I switched to Top Shot now, as you can see, and I'm never looking back. They're just not even on the same level with how much they stack on top of each other. It's just not comparable. So if you don't have all these leveled up, you can use glitch. It turns Smokescreen into like a super long range sniper, which is nice. Keeps him alive. I would not use flak. Um, you can use Peacemaker with the three I've labeled. If those three aren't already in your squad, I'm not sure why you would use this one. He's more defensive minded, but technically, quote unquote, can work. If you don't have Top Shot, Fire Drive is actually very similar. He hits an area dealing fire damage, just not as much. He's actually very underrated, Fire Drive. He simply gets outshadowed by Top Shot, but if you don't have Top Shot and you have Fire Drive, he can work too. Then Spoil Sport, he's okay. Again, if you don't have the other options, you can use him, but he just doesn't compare. Styler is similar to Glitch. He turns him into a long-range sniper, and Styler was probably better than Glitch by a little bit, but both are, I don't know. If you don't, again, there's no one else compared to these big three. I'm just kind of going over options if you don't have them. Trenchfoot, if you don't have the Cosmic Rust Blaster, Trenchfoot can work too. He also boosts damage. Actually, he boosts the damage more than the Cosmic Rust, but he doesn't have the slowdown effect. And I'm not sure if he shoots an area. But yeah, if you don't have the Rust Blaster, Trenchfoot would probably be my go-to. But yeah, I can't stress enough. Memorize this: Nightstick, Top Shot, Cosmic Rust Blaster. Get those in your war squad. You will notice a difference. They're so good together. So yeah, that's a lot spot. So I've gone over how I constructed my squad and then their setups. Again, other strategies can build other squads. I just use this one squad and it works just fine for me. So yeah, if you have any other questions, maybe something I didn't go over, please feel free to leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer them. And again, I've tried my best to go over what's flexible, like Blaster. He's very flexible versus stuff like the Nightstick, Top Shot, and Cosmic Rust. Those are non-negotiable. If you have them and you're not using them, you are actively making your squad worse. I promise you. There's not a better option out there. But yeah. So if you have any questions, drop them in the comments. If you learned something, please leave a like. If you keep coming back, a sub would be appreciated. And yeah, I will see you next time.